You are watching William Patterson University Television.
Welcome back to the desk. We have Justin, Joe, Stephen, and Chris here to break down the Pioneers' latest playoff action. Now, fellas, the Pioneers lost a tough game in the NJAC to Kean 2-1. Chris, take us through what happened here.
Yeah, a 2-1 loss. We had the ace, Corey Martinez, on the mound, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. Steven Girolamo scored a run early in the first inning, and then Kean came right back to tie it 1-1. And then the Pioneers' offense kind of went cold from there. You guys know the story here. Corey did his thing, but they just came up a little bit short.
You see 8 Pioneers left on base in that game. Stephen, what did you see here?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to focus on that. That's huge. One stat that I kind of looked into, too many key players were hitless. Danny Carter, Greg Cuevas, Frankie Dean, Carson Weiss, and Steven DiGirolamo. They combined over 20. You cannot have that in probably the biggest game of the season against a powerhouse like Kean. It's simple. You have to win. If you want to win games, you have to score runs. And you're not going to do that by not supporting your pitcher with only 1 run. Corey, you got to give him props. Kid pitched amazing. But the offense wasn't there.
Joe?
Yeah, I have to agree. Kean is probably the better team overall, but with the Pioneers, only 3 players ended up getting hits, leaving 8 men on base, not scoring after the first inning. That can't happen. This offense we've seen do much better against equally as good starting pitching. So when it comes down to it, I just don't think the Pioneers played at their best.
Justin?
I agree with Joe and everyone else. The offense was just stagnant. We saw towards the end of the season a 3-4 game stretch where the offense kind of just plateaued, and they only put up 2 to 3 runs per game. So now they only put up 1 run. That's been alarming now with the NJAC tournament moving on. You want to see them be able to score those runners in, because we've seen also a few other times they would get runners on at third base, but it'd be 2 outs, took away the sac fly opportunity. So they really had trouble manufacturing runs also.
Now let's take a look at the season as a whole. A lot of key players really stepped up for the Pioneers this year. Justin, who was your overall team MVP?
Well, for me, it has to be pitcher Eric Rosenberg. Out of the bullpen, he's an absolute flamethrower. He won the Firefighter of the Year award for the NJAC, which is the best reliever in the NJAC. As you can see, 2.0 ERA, phenomenal record at 6-2. He had 3 saves. Words can't describe how important he is to the back end of the bullpen, because, Joe, we called a game where he went 14 innings. Corey went 10, and he came in and won the game and pitched an additional 4 innings. But also the last game of the season at Montclair State, he pitched 7 innings as a starter. So he's just versatile as anything for the pitching staff.
Joe?
Say, with all due respect to everyone, you just picked Rosenberg and everyone you guys picked, how could you not go with Steve Yellen?
Yes.
I mean, the guy was 2nd team NJAC, 2nd most home runs in the NJAC, pretty much led the Pioneers in every offensive category. He was a force that could not be stopped. And not to mention, he played most of his games at catcher, which is a position where you really don't see very much offensive production. The guy is just outstanding. Every asset of the game, he does well.
Steve?
I'm looking at my main man, Steven DiGirolamo. We share a name. What a player he's been for the Pioneers.
You don't share a spelling, though.
I unfortunately no, but listen, you see his average, 421. He almost cracked the top 10 of all-time Pioneers average for a season. The kid is an all-around monster, 5'2" player. 2nd year in a row, he started all 39 games. He can do anything, perfect leadoff hitter. He could swipe a few bags, and he's probably had a couple Sports Center top 10 plays out there in center field. He is a key Pioneer going forward.
Chris?
This was probably the most key Pioneer coming into the season, just with how his past had been. Corey Martinez had 3 really impressive years for the Pioneers prior to this year, and this year he kept it up. He was 6-0 prior to that game versus Kean. Like we said, he took the loss, so he's now 6-1. 2.4 ERA. Surprisingly, that's higher than what it was last year. But this guy was so important to the team all season long, pacing them every time he goes out there to start. You know that he was going to give you the best effort possible.
Chris, we'll keep it with you. Before we sign off for the summer with the Pioneers, what grade would you give the team for this season?
I'm going to give the team a B. And the reason being is because there was so much talent on the team. 25 wins is a great number, and I'm very pleased with how the season went. But I do believe that there was room for improvement. For me, the NJAC's tournament is not over, but they had the potential to win this tournament. I see no reason why they couldn't do it. With such a juiced lineup that they had, the bats just went cold at the wrong time.
Steven?
Yeah, I went with a B+, and that's because they lost a lot of key games to better talent. They sometimes even played down to lesser talent. 25 wins is huge. We know this. The team and the performance were there at times, but it kind of started to fade away in multiple games. You know, inconsistent offense, a great season, but I got to knock them down just a little bit under an A.
Joe?
I had to go with an A because they really did stick the landing toward the end there. They came on a little bit of a hot streak to get them into the playoffs in the NJAC, and it's not like they just backed in. I mean, they won 25 games this year. They pitched well, they hit well, the fielding was outstanding. They really exceeded every expectation that I had going in. I don't see how you couldn't give them an A.
Justin?
For me, I gotta go with an A-. And Joe, you talked about the pitching a little bit. Now, Corey Martinez and Eric Rosenberg were phenomenal pitchers for the Pioneers, but the question mark was going from A to B, where they really didn't have a relief pitcher you could go to set up Rosenberg. So that's why you saw him throwing extended innings. Chris Babb had a down year a little bit, ERA much higher than last year. So pitching was a bit of a weakness this year, but all in all, it was a good season.
We had lofty expectations for the Pioneers when we first previewed their season back in February, and it's good to see that they really lived up to a lot of that. Well, the Pioneers look to save their season tonight against Rowan, and we will be sure to keep our eyes on that one. Up next, we stay right here. We're going to go out to the old ball game and analyze the MLB. Keep it locked.